Hi friends, Nick Scholl here, and today I'm with Conrad, the Contra bass trombone in a living room setting. I want to share with you my learning experience at the Contra. It's been a few years since I've had a gig on this thing, and I was very motivated to get back into it. I thought I'd highlight some of my roadblocks to possibly help you to avoid them and optimize your learning. This is specifically for, I guess, anybody learning, switching to the Contra, probably a bass trombonist, maybe a tuba player, but also this could be for anybody learning trombone, bass trombone, as it has a lot of basic tips when it comes to learning the instrument. So join me in this process. It's probably going to end up being a multi-part series. So just to give a bit of context, I've never actually had a contrabass lesson in my life from any teacher. When I was studying in Rotterdam for a few years with Ben van Dijk, there was an old Tyne, I believe, available for the students, but it wasn't so easy to get at, let's say. I tried it a few times, but there were other priorities on the bass trombone. So I've come to this old Tyne, which I'm playing. By the way, it's a 1980s model, the pre-Ben van Dijk model that I was lucky to get. I came to that on my own in a self-study kind of way. And this makes it very interesting to reflect on my approach, and I'm happy to share it with you. Just helping the lovely trombone community because they always subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much. So we've begun with tuning of the thing. Now this is particularly interesting because it's a little bit complicated. I mean, to begin with, the beast is in low F, right? You can already begin by thinking that's like holding the first valve down. Okay, that's no big problem. We kind of know that, right? Even tenor players know that. But then what about the other valves? Now it seems there's, from reading around online, there's a great page on trombonechat.com. If you Google contrabass trombone tuning, you'll find that on the first page. And basically you see there's three main tunings, of which two are now the most common. So basically there's two so-called German tunings and there's one other tuning. Okay, and here's the first roadblock that I came to. Check this out. These are both first valve tuning slides. Now, for whatever reason, I had the shorter one in my Contra. From the last gig, I learned some ridiculous stuff for a modern premiere with this old German tuning. So what am I talking about exactly? Okay, so the open horn is in F in general. There's also low B flat. I think the absolute monsters with the double slide, but we're sticking today to the F contrabass trombone, okay? F in open. First valve, which one? So old German tuning, it's in E flat. More modern German tuning, it's in D. Okay, so I had the shorter one in. I'd learned it for a modern premiere a few years ago. Oskar Gottlieb Blau's an incredible piece called Der siebte Engel, the seventh angel, just for Contra instruments. It was brilliant. And I learned the whole thing with this F, E flat tuning. What's the second valve? The second valve is then in low B flat, and then both valves in low A. What's the problem there? Of course, we're trying to get all the notes, and the difficult one is, of course, the low F sharp. Okay, the pedal F sharp on the bass trombone. That's a pig on the contrabass trombone, right? A semitone up from the fundamental. And this is the difference with these two, okay? If you go with the E flat tuning, it's more of a stretch. I mean, the slide is long enough anyway. As you'll see in a minute, the slide is huge. You're simply going to be stretching further if you go for this E-flat tuning, which is why I believe the more modern instruments basically are more likely to have it in D. The so-called modern German tuning is in F. It's in D with the first valve. It's in low B-flat with the second valve alone. And it's in low A flat with both valves down. And that gives you the low F sharp with both valves. Still a stretch, but it's not quite as long as the old German tuning. So that was roadblock one. I had the shorter valve piece in. I got my head around the tuning again. Thanks, Aidan Ritchie. If you're listening to this, he wrote a really nice comment there on that trombonechat.com. And I realized the D was a better choice. It was hidden away in the case, by the way. So rookie error, roadblock number one. Get your tuning sorted. I haven't mentioned the second tuning yet, okay? And that, I'm not sure what the name for this is. I'm going to call it a fourth below tuning. Why? Because it's literally the same as a bass trombone, a fourth lower. So that would be in F, of course, then first valve in C, a little lower, second valve alone in D flat or C sharp, and both valves down in low A. I've never played with this tuning, but it's popular because it's easily related to the normal bass trombone, like I said, a fourth below. So some players who use that have been writing that it's good for your muscle memory just when you adjust. You know, it's the same kind of sonic intervals, just a fourth lower. The advantage of the German tuning, the first valve, D valve, is in your brain the same as both valves down on the bass trombone. You know what I'm saying? So you've got D, D flat and C in the same kind of positions, the same feel in relation to the bell. Of course, it's that little bit further on the contra because the slide is longer, but it's the same feel, we're talking about muscle memory, as we've already trained for years and years and years on the bass trombone. That for me really was helpful for those three notes, D, D flat and C, also B natural. So roadblock 2 is finding the right repertoire for your level. Okay, this is really important. I looked through my literature. Now, of course, the contra is not the same as the bass trombone range. It's lower. So actually the tuba range is more appropriate. The bass trombone etudes, they may just lie a little too high for you to begin with. So I had that old horse. Bel canto studies for tuba or bass trombone. And I started with that because it was the only thing I could find to begin with. And this was an error. It was just a little too technical to get started. And I realized I was getting caught up on the first etude, you know, somewhere in the middle when it got a little bit more technical with the trills, etc. I realized suddenly my motivation was dropping. So I had to look through my other tuba literature and found some simple solos. That's the Deutsches Tuba Forum. It's the premier German organization for tuba players, which I highly recommend anyway to become a member of, simply for the amazing literature. They come out with a thick pamphlet every year with loads of quartet stuff and solos, etc. So I started off here with Midnight in Moscow, for example, and realized, hey, my motivation is skyrocketing simply because I could get through the piece from start to finish. Maybe not perfectly with the intonation, but that's the next point. Okay, so motivation is really key for this when you're switching to a new instrument. This goes for any instrument, remember. Find the right level. So I'd really advise, don't choose the most technical solos, even if you love them, even if you can play them on the bass trombone immediately. Really pull the level down for your motivation, okay? So those were the two main roadblocks that I faced. One, tuning, and second, level of repertoire, okay? And here's now 5 tips I want to give you specifically on working on the contra or any newer instrument. Tip 1, this is specialized for contra, also bass trombone, but hey, you see here? You see here? That is the ergo brass system, the ergo bone, okay? company, Ergo Brass. It's on Facebook, it's online. I've been talking about it for years, so have other players. I use it for all trombones if I'm playing longer, but with the Contra, man, if you don't use that, you're really going to be putting a lot of unnecessary stress on your body and also on your hand. So, do you see here? Tyne have a handrest soldered in. If there's not a handrest, get yourself one. Otherwise, you're going to have so much strain. It's a lot heavier than the bass trombone, okay? Even Ben Van Dyke uses the Ergo bone with the Contra. I saw on a video of his. So tip 2, make a separate folder or have a separate place, have separate music for the Contra, okay? Buy it a second time or print the PDF again, whatever. You're going to have different markings and you don't want to be getting tangled up with bass trombone markings in there. Tip 3, you see the little post-it there? You see the numbers? That's my system of tempi. So when I've played it from start to finish without a mistake, I can tick off that tempi. Start off low, again, give yourself motivation and build up. It really works well. Tick it off. It gives you the feeling, okay, I'm getting somewhere, I'm achieving something. Tip 4 is focus notes. What do I mean by that? There's going to be a few notes that you're just not getting immediately or where the tuning is a little bit off. So use these focus notes in the piece. For example, let's take the note A. Okay, whenever we get to that A, we pause, we hold it as a fermata and look at the tuning device, for example. Or maybe we've got a drone on, then we adjust till it's in tune. I don't recommend looking at a tuning device the whole time. That's why I say focus notes. You'll go mad if you try to tune every note. To begin with, pick one note and every time it gets there, hold it. And you'll see pretty quickly what your tendency is, okay? And this leads nicely to the final tip 5. Note down your thoughts on the music, in your folder, on big post-its, whatever works for you, but note it down. This is really useful. This reflection deepens the learning process. I'll give you a small example. I just talked about these focus notes, okay? Let's take the low A, okay? So lowest space A, second position on a bass trombone. Now, I was playing this way too flat to begin with, okay? And I even wrote down here, A, V2, higher. First valve in second position. I was still associating with the bass trombone in second position. Now let's have a think again. What was the tuning? Okay, first valve is in D, which means that A is also in first position. We've got D, A, D as the harmonic series, right? So actually A is in a low first position. It's not in second at all. Do you see the A is actually looks like a 2? Because of the partial, okay, D to A, it's like how a low B flat to F, we have to adjust the F, except here when we adjust the A, it looks like it's in second position. It's just a very flat first position. I'd written down second position A, and it was clearly in a low first position. But by writing it down, you really solidify that message, and you'll probably never forget again that, in fact, it's related to the first position in the D valve, okay? So that's all for today, folks. I'm sure I'll make a part 2 soon. Final bonus point of learning the Contra, by the way. Look at the difference. When you go back to smaller trombones, even the bass trombone, it seems tiny in comparison. It seems like a pea shooter in terms of delivery of air, airflow, etc. It's a great advantage. The smaller trombone becomes a lot easier in terms of just power, endurance, etc. Okay, so that's a nice bonus knock-on effect we get from learning these bigger horns. If you can afford it, find yourself a used Contra. I'm not sure about the Chinese ones. If you have to, do it, but the other makes will probably make you a lot happier. Tyne, Wrath, Cancel. They may cost a few bucks, but it's a great learning process. See you in the next video. I just saw my old teacher, Doug Burden, in Ottawa, Canada, selling his Tyne Contra for $20,000. Sell your car and get something more interesting.